Well, good afternoon, First Baptist Church. Welcome to the Monday blog. We were going through the book of Jonah, and we finished that book. And I want to move into the book of Jude. And the reason I want to move into the book of Jude, one, because I want to study it. Two is because it's not studied very often. It's probably one of the most neglected book in the New Testament. One, because it's a small book. Another one, because it has some very difficult text and some things that really make us feel uncomfortable. And so, you know how I am. I kind of like to make us feel uncomfortable. So let's dive into the text as we start to see what Jude is telling us. First thing that we see in this text is the title Jude. Now, I kind of wish that we would do it this way in our day. Like we would tell it who it is. I would start my letter, hey, this is Zack. So people would know where this letter is coming from. So they'd have kind of an understanding of my personality as they read it. But we start with the person who the letter is for. And it says this: a servant of Jesus Christ and brother of James. Now, on first glance, we would think the son of Zebedee. Maybe Jude is another son or another son of Zebedee, brother of James and John. But really, what he's saying here is the brother of Jesus. We see this in Mark 6:3. It says, is this not the carpenter, the son of Mary and the brother of James and Joseph and Judas and Simon? And then Jesus also had sisters. And what I think is important in this text is that they took offense at him. So at a certain point in Jesus' ministry, his brothers and maybe even his sisters took offense at Jesus. They were not followers of Jesus Christ. And now Jude is saying that he is a servant of Jesus Christ. And he does it humbly. He doesn't say that he's a brother of Jesus. No, he says he's a brother of James, an influential person in the church. And so as we start to look at this letter, we need to understand that it was written about 65 to 80 AD. And it was probably written a little bit after Second Peter and used some of the language in Second Peter to help him write his book. And he's also, if you look at this text here, if we move down, it says, to those who are called, who are beloved in God. So these are believers. These are people that have been saved. And I love how he says that have been kept for Jesus. When we are a believer in Jesus Christ, we are kept for him. God supernaturally keeps us so that we can be in Jesus' presence and have him in our life and be with him for eternity. And what's important about this is that we're seeing that Jude started to write this book to believers, and then he gets this understanding that there are false teachers in the church at the time. Now, there's false teachers now, there's been false teachers throughout history, but this moved in 30 or so years after Jesus was gone and probably was in there beforehand. We see that in other books. And so they're constantly combating false teaching, which is probably more of a detriment to the church than anybody in the world, right? When you are a hypocrite, when there's a hypocritical aspect of you and you come into the church and destroy it, that does more damage than those that are outside. And we don't want to be that type of person. So we really need to guard against it, allowing somebody to come in and infiltrate the church in the middle and then to destroy it. Now we need to do it in grace and peace. And we see God's methods down here as we move down, right? It says, may mercy. So we need to have mercy because God had mercy for us. He didn't give us the condemnation, the death that we deserved. And because he didn't give us that, that should bring this peace, right? We have this comfort, this lenience into God. And this peace doesn't always what we feel, right? This peace is what we have from God. And because we have it from God, we can lean into that and understand it. And because of this peace, we can see God's love. And when God's love, or when we understand God's love for us, that starts to multiply to us. Then the more we start to understand this overflow of God's love for the Trinity flowing out to us, the more we start to understand peace, and the more we can lean into the mercy that he's given us. So I thank you for tuning in today. And as we go through this series, I really want us to focus on what Jude is trying to tell the church and to protect the church from. And how do we take that to the church here today in FBC or other churches throughout the world? So thank you for tuning in, and I'll talk to you guys next week.